welcome to the podcast. This week we've got Mark Wozencroft, known as Wuzy. Mark, welcome.
Well, it's brilliant to be to do this with you. It's I've listened to quite a few of them now, and it's quite interesting. This podcast.
We've been meaning to get it together, haven't we, for a while? And obviously you're on Christchurch, I'm on Christchurch. It's turning into the Christchurch show a bit, which is convenient for me. I think if I can coincide with fishing, and you've done all right, haven't you, in your session? Considering how it's fishing.
Yeah, but I bought a winter ticket on here, and I've done a couple of sessions before this week, but this week I caught one, so really happy with that. Only a low 20, 21, 22, but an absolute perler, to be honest. But they're all good looking in here anyway, aren't they? Let's be honest. So it's no. As Leon Barchop was saying, no walk of shame. Yeah,
nice. Yeah. Well, you did have a bit of a dunking, didn't you, in it?
Yeah, That was a bit
of a walk of shame.
A bit of a story is whilst I was landing that fish, I slipped on a tree root. Luckily, it wasn't that deep. It was sort of only up to sort of just over the knees, but I went all the way in, well, except for right up to my neck. And it absolutely took my breath away. I didn't realise how cold that water was. But got it in. So that was the main thing. But luckily, here's a tip: bring spare clothes with you, because I did, and I was lucky. Otherwise, I would have been going
this time of year. You can get away with it in the summer, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. But this year, luckily, I always carry spare clothes, summer and winter. But even more so this year. This time of the year, because it's so cold.
It's such a good tip as well. I always keep stuff in the van.
You
physically can't get wet. I saw a lad, I think a few sessions ago, his wheelbarrow went in. Luckily it was when he was packing away. It's one of the three-wheelers, and he, I don't know, just put it at a bit of an angle, turned around, and he was just scooting straight to the lake, and went completely in. By the time I walked past him, it was just ringing wet. The bed chair was dripping and everything. And I said to him, well, at least it happened when you were going and not when you were bloody coming here. So.
But to be honest, I tipped my barrel just now as well.
Oh, did you?
Right by New Dig.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the fella who was in New Dig gave me a hand to bring it back up again. I didn't have to strip it. But it happens. I mean, it's happened to a couple of times to me.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's because it's a certain way you should be loading up your bow, and I did it too tall, so it was top heavy. My own fault.
When it's slippery like this, that's what it takes, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sometimes it's better to let it go as well, rather than doing yourself a bloody injury trying to save it.
I've done it once where it's your barrow's going, and you've tried to
and the flex.
And when it sort of threw me to the floor, but then it also bends the arms as well, like during where you're forcefully trying to stop it from falling over. So I just let it go then. I just thought, it's going.
So you said you've been on there sort of years ago, didn't you?
Yeah, about 9-10 years ago was my last session on it. It was the last 2 years before he went day ticket. Right. So what are we looking at? 8 years? 9 years, something like that. It's been a while now. I didn't realise it was that long. I was thinking about it the other day. But yes, it's changed quite a bit. There's more swims on it than there ever used to be. I think there was 13 swims, if I remember correctly, and one of them sort of nobody fished, like, type of thing. Do you know what I mean? But like the corner one over there, nobody used to fish it. You used to have plenty of water and whatever. It's 20 swims now. It's like we were saying earlier on. It is deceptive. You do get a bit of water, and when I first came down here, I thought, it's just going to be sort of nothing against linear, but it's sort of a lot like B1 and B2. It's sort of straight out and that's it. That's your water. And I thought it was going to be like that on here, but it's not. You've got plenty of other sort of margin spots, because they come in really close on here. They always did anyway. Do you know what I mean? And you could drop some rigs and close in and actually watch them feeding. And I like that in my fishing, because that's the type of fishing that I do. I fish sort of waters that hone my strengths, rather than I'm not a distance angler. Do you know what I mean? I don't pretend to be. I will, I can do sort of 160, 170 wraps with the right setup, but 170 yards.
That's good going.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Don't mean to show off.
Mark Hutchinson would be well impressed with that one.
By the time the legs landed, it's time to pack up and go.
Yeah,
I just stood there.
Yeah, it comes down with snow on actually. But no, about 160, 170 yards I could do. But that's with distance braid and shock leaders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But my ideal fishing is fishing extreme margins, really close in.
Yeah.
Like for instance, I was fishing on Horton Church last year.
Yeah.
And a lot of the fish, I'm going to do that, 14, 15 fish from the one swim called Tench Bush.
Right.
Which is, a lot of people sort of, you can only fish about 30, 40 yards out anyway, do you know what I mean? But I found this little spot on a margin, and it was literally sort of a foot from the bank, because it goes deep really quick in the margin, so like you could fish that shelf just, as it comes down. And I had a lot of fish, but then you can. I quite like using the old spoon.
Oh yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Nice.
And the floating poles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's nothing better. And is it cheating? I don't know. But what I was doing is that after I had a bite, I'd unscrew the pole off, put a GoPro on, ship that out.
Right.
Have a look, bring it in, and we play it back to see if the bait was gone.
Right, got ya.
Do you know what I mean? Because and it was quite often that I'd look there and think, well, hold on, all my bait's still there. So it's quite often I'd ship out a single hook bait.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Rather than putting more bait on top of it again.
Yeah.
Or if you can visually see it, then don't just put bait, because the problem is with margins, you can put too much bait out and easy. Kill it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes less is more, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's just a little handful. And when I was putting them up with a spoon, it was literally sort of 5 to 10 crumbed boilies, and my hook bait, and that was it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because
nice.
I am a boilie angler, and I do prefer using boilies.
Yeah.
But especially when you're fishing waters where there's a lot of nuisance fish.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Using whole boilies is the way to go, really, because you don't want to be messed around with sort of bream, tench, and whatever. Unless you want to go, unless you're happy catching them, that's fine. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
but you say if you spend ages getting that rig bang on and checking everything, the last thing you want to pick up from a.
Yeah, and especially if you're sort of especially on a spot where you're fishing a weedy water, and the hole might only be tiny, and it might take you sort of 4 or 5 casts. Yeah. You might get it in there, but you've got to have that drop as well. Do you know what I mean? You might go into that hole, but then I always try and find, because it's always like that whole spot within a spot type of thing. Do you know what I mean? So you instinctively know over the years, and you think, oh yeah, that's the one. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes you cast out and you think, oh no, that's not quite it. It was nearly there, but not quite. Yeah. And sometimes I've had to where I fish in really tight spots, 10 casts to get to it. But and it sounds extreme, but it's brought me so many bites doing it that way. Yeah. And it's down to confidence as well.
I was going to say.
And my fishing is down to it's with Teddy, and he always sort of worked on percentages in his fishing. So if you can do something that'll aid your fishing, that's an extra 1%, and then if you do something else, that's another 1%. And if you can build up these percentages in your favour, then one, it gives you sort of utmost sort of confidence in what you're doing, where you're fishing, and how you're fishing. But it's just, I just want to be, when I'm fishing, I want to fish as confidently as I possibly can, and the right way. Yeah. If you know what I mean. Yeah. I mean, obviously within the rules, because obviously there's waters where I fished horseshoe farriers, and they're capsicity waters, they're barbless waters. You've got to use barbless hooks. I mean, it's no good sort of being kicked off because you're fishing barbed hooks or leg cores because they don't allow leaders. Yeah. And it's the same on here. I mean, it's, there's bans on maggots and zigs and casters and stuff like that. Yeah. You should stick to the rules, right? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Well, especially myself, I can't afford to be sort of kicked off waters, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a hollow victory, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's sort of not quite the same, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it.
So obviously, quite a few people probably know you from your series, Ross vs. Wuzy. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, well, we started it 2 years ago now. So we had the second one in first weekend in October, and we had 2 guests this year. We had Les Bowers and Ian Russell.
Right.
And it was absolutely brilliant. We raised a load of money. I think it was £2,500. But next year we're going to do it slightly different. It's still going to be the Russ versus Wuzy theme. It'll be myself against Russ, but we're going to try and get other anglers involved. And I don't know whether can you remember back in the day on Linear they used to have Fish with the Stars.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a theme on that.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So it's not going to be as such where it was £5, £10 for a raffle ticket, and then you were in a draw. This we're sort of toying around with the idea, although it's not finalised yet. But it was. I think the last time it was Fish with Stars, it was about £300 to fish with each person. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's going to be along that type of theme. We've already got sort of 10 anglers that have definitely said yes. So it's a start. But we'd like around about 20, book a whole lake, whether that be B1, B2 or Oxley's, wherever. I mean, Linear have been absolutely brilliant allowing us to do it on the waters as well. I mean, that was the good thing about that. But also as well, we're going to split it. We're going to have two charities this year, next year, which is going to be multiple sclerosis, which is close to me because my daughter's got it, and that's the reason why we did it for. And also with Ian Russell, his son's got it. Do you know what I mean? But we're going to do it for motor neurone as well, which is what the Fish with the Stars was to raise money for that. Do you know what I mean? For that charity. So it's going to be really good. We've had loads of positive feedback on it, and it's going to. I think it's going to be a really good one.
Awesome. And so have you got dates confirmed for that or not yet?
It's always the first weekend of October.
Right.
Always the first weekend of October, because it just makes it easier for people like myself and Frank Warwick's involved as well. And a lot of us have got commitments with filming and stuff with the companies that we're involved with, do you know what I mean? So we have to do certain things which we're obliged to do.
Sure.
And it's just that October is a quiet time for everyone, really, because I know like Frank does sort of his tuitions over in Italy and stuff like that.
Right.
And he comes back to the UK then in October, so that's one of the reasons why we did it in October. And also it was Ian could do it as well. Chemo could do it at that date as well, type of thing. Frank had to pull up because he didn't realise that he double booked a competition, Stairway to Hell.
Right.
He fished that, so thankfully Les Bowers is more than capable sort of angler to step in and do the business, and I'm not going to blow my own trumpet, but we won. So
brilliant. Yeah, it's good.
It was brilliant. Yeah,
I bet it takes quite a bit of planning as well, doesn't it? Something like that.
Oh, it's all the way through the year. It's unreal. I mean, we've got what we do try and do is in the May we try and do. We hired out a pub, and we did. It was Des Taylor, Frank Warwick, Chemo, myself, and Russell.
Right.
Russ, and we did sort of like a sit-down question and answer thing. We did loads of raffles, prizes and stuff like that. And next year we're going to do the same again. Do you know what I mean? So hopefully everyone can turn up for that. I think Les have said he's going to turn up for that one as well. But it's sort of like, and it gives us a chance for all of us to get together and throw some ideas into the mix, ready for the October event, the main event.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, a prelim almost.
And also as well, that's it. And it gives people then a chance to meet, their they're sort of stars, not myself of course, but you know, like Frank and Les Bowers, you know, the selfie king. I mean, everyone wants a selfie with him, don't they? Do you know what I mean? But it's just like, you know, they can meet him face to face, and it's more of like a personal touch as well, type of thing, like, you know. So and they get to win loads of prizes, which is brilliant. A good one, like, you know.
Where is that being held, that event?
It's normally sort of central Worcester area.
Okay.
Sort of that type of area.
Right.
We have booked the venue already. It's a different venue this year.
Yeah.
We needed a bigger one. So we found this year was a bit small, even though it was nice.
Yeah.
But and for the life of me, I can't remember the name of the venue. But it'll be up on media anyway.
Yeah.
So
brilliant. Yeah. When I say you're welcome to come on close to the time to raise a bit of awareness, that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I do sort of quite a few sort of charity events and charity tuitions and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid sometimes I have to say no, because otherwise I wouldn't do any fishing myself, type of thing.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
What I mean? And it's annoying for myself, because I'd love to do them, but there has to be a cut-off period.
Sure.
And I'm sure that Jules said that as well. I mean, it's you know, he only does sort of 2 or 3 a year, because it will take over your personal sort of life. And I work full time, so for if I was full time angler, then I probably would do it, but a little bit more. But you know, I work shift work, so 4 days on, 4 days off.
Right.
And you know, and contrary to popular belief, everyone thinks that I'm a full time angler. I'm far from it.
Yeah.
I'd love to be a full time angler, but it's just
the shift works for it.
Yeah, it works out really nice for me. I mean, I got 3 nights on the bank most weeks.
Yeah.
And also as well, if I book 4 days holiday, I got sort of 10, 12 days off.
Yeah,
and it works out really nice.
Yeah, like 3 on 3 off.
Yeah,
and it's so handy for the fishing.
And I normally sort of have one of those in the spring, and one of them in the autumn.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And sort of like prime times, basically. You know what I mean? But I enjoy my job.
I'll say, what do you do for work?
I'm a steel worker. I drive a crane.
Right.
I drive an overhead crane, gantry crane.
Yeah.
Love
where's
it.
that?
In Cardiff.
Right.
I'm Cardiff boy.
Yeah.
Born and bred, and my kids live in that area as well. So it's just my parents, my brother lives in Caerphilly, just outside. So for me, it's all central for my family.
Yeah.
And I enjoy living there anyway. Do you know what I mean? But
And have you done much fishing there?
Oh, I've done. I've basically fished all the waters around that sort of area. You know, everything from sort of like Lambie and the Birch to excellent waters and up and coming waters. I fished the Wharf. Christ, I fished the Wharf back 40 years ago. Myself and my brother was. Christ, how old was I? 12, 13. We were going down there with our push bikes.
Yeah.
And fishing there with at the time the Welsh international sort of match anglers were down there, sort of you know, Richard Candy and Clive Roberts and all them.
Right.
You probably don't know them, like, do you know what I mean? Probably a lot of people wouldn't know, but yeah, they sort of like. You're bound to know Ivor Max. Yeah. But they were around that sort of.
And Clive Roberts as well, sounds.
Yeah, Clive Roberts. Yeah, they're all around sort of that era.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? With Ivor Max and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And they used to have the international match. Well, on Roath Park.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Roath Park was where it used to be a very good roach water and bits water, but now it's not. It's been absolutely decimated by cormorants now, and that's where the Welsh records was, and it's dead now. A fish called Ben. Was
that common?
Yeah, it was common. It was caught at £48.
Right.
By a good friend of mine, and but I was lucky to catch it myself. I did a little campaign for it. I caught it quite quick, actually. I caught it within about 2 months.
Right.
And it was right in the summer where, because it was a nightmare of a water, because you had boats and you had just general walkers, joggers. Oh, it was a nightmare. And you had this big boat, the Pride of Roath, I think it's called, or something like that. And it's got It's got it's not a rowing boat. It's an electric outboard type thing, and because it was so weedy, your lines would be laying over the top and it would take you out, like, do you know what I mean? So you just couldn't. It sort of restricted your fishing because really you could only fish properly in the night.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And then they used to complain about it because they didn't like people fishing at night. It was only a day ticket water, and there was loads around that. But we all did it. We've all done it, and all we did was just kept ourselves to ourselves. And we never caused anybody else. So because really all the way around the lake there's all houses, so you had to be sort of respectful of the people who live around there as well, and the big houses as well. I mean, not your sort of two bedroom terraced houses. These are sort of £1 million houses. Okay. Big houses. You know what I mean? But so I enjoyed my time on there. But like the wharf was amazing. I mean, the stocking for the wharf actually came from the council used to stock it with overflow fish from other waters they used to net, and used to put them in there. Do you know what I mean? Because when they sort of blocked it off from the main sort of artery of the dry dock system, of the dock system, it became fresh water then, because the river was flowing into it. A big canal flows into it, which is off the River Taff. Yeah, the River Taff flows into it. But the story is, we found a canal which happened to be the part of the canal that went into the wharf, and it was myself and my brother, and we were doing a little bit of float fishing. It was like this little weir, and literally you could put your float in, and the float would just literally sort of go around in circles in this weir, and it was just it wouldn't go up or down the river. Do you know what I mean? It would just stay there, and we were catching these fish which were. We didn't even know what they were, but as it happened, they were roach. Right. And Richard Candy was stood, and there was like a bridge, and he was watching us, and we were catching these fish. I mean, on really sort of 4 or 5 pound line. I mean, we're catching, and what we found out afterwards, these roach, because he weighed one of them, and he said, boys, these fish are big. And we weighed one of them, and it was £2.4 We were catching £2 roach and didn't even realise. It was just unreal. And we didn't appreciate it at all at that time because one, we didn't know what we were catching. We were just happy to catch something. And two, I think we had about 20 fish, and I reckon about 15 of them were over £2. But it was really weird because within a couple of weeks after they'd sort of been caned a little bit by us and by Richard when it down there, and obviously must have done a couple of sessions on it. They disappeared and never turned up again. Never caught again. I don't know why. I don't know where they went to. Do you know what I mean? Because they started doing matches down the canal, thinking, they're going to have £2 roach in the matches, and never caught those big roach in the matches. And some really good anglers were fishing for them then. You know, and looking back on it, it was just absolutely bizarre. But it was. It's times like that when you look back on it, just a big smile on my face. And I've had some good times with my brother, fishing with him as well.
Same. I got into fishing with my brother.
Because nobody else in my family fished.
Same as that.
And we basically did this pioneering thing, got on our bikes and rode around, not with a fishing gear, but just rode around looking for waters, looking for rivers and lakes and stuff like that. And it was absolutely fantastic. And we used to get it because there was no magazines as such then. I mean, you had Carp World. It was right in its infancy type of thing, or maybe before. No, I don't even think Carp World was even out then. If I'm thinking about it now, and all you had was hard book, back books and stuff like that, and how to course fish and stuff like that. And if I remember, you didn't even have sort of books about carp fishing then, if I remember correctly. Do you know what I mean? It was a mix. If you bought a book, you'd have to flick through to the parts that you wanted to look for, type of thing. Do you know what I mean? And we're a bit spoilt nowadays because you can literally walk into carp fishing with all the gear and stuff like that. And I've got nothing against that. I mean, each to their own. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sure a lot of people get tutorials off that as well. Do you know what I mean? And it's great. I mean, if they can learn the right way, it's absolutely fantastic. but I have noticed, especially on busy sort of day ticket waters, that etiquette is not really there like it used to be years ago.
Yeah.
I can remember a fella next door to come up to him, he'd be like, "Oh, where's your right hand rod to? The one that's nearest to him." And I'd say, "Oh, it's over there." "Oh, lovely. Okay, I won't put one by there."
Yeah.
And we never used to take the mickey anyway when we were fishing. It wasn't that catch fish at all costs. We were always just happy to get the rods out, get a bend in the rod if we could.
Yeah.
And it was an enjoyable time.
Yeah, and that sort of pioneering thing. I know what you mean. I remember being as a lad finding a lake that you didn't know was there. That feeling. You don't really get that anymore, do you?
It was exciting as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you get a real buzz of like you just flicking out your rods for the first time. And you just think, I wonder what's in here, because you don't even know what's in there.
Yeah.
Because some waters you'd see the fish and some you wouldn't.
Yeah.
And we'd be flitting around on different waters trying to find fish that had never been caught before. Not that we were going out to, but do you know what I mean? We would just sort of anything to get a bite, it was such a good time in my life. Of thinking back on it now, it was a really good time in my life. And I mean, myself and my brother, there was a time that we were really close.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And we did everything together. We went fishing together. Do you know what I mean? And we'd be going to school and literally rushing home to grab the rods to get down to the local pond type of thing, which was Hendra Lake then, because I was living not far from there, which was a bit, looking back on it, it was a bit of a Runswater, but it didn't matter. It was just nice for it to be, to get a bend in a rod. I really enjoyed it, and staying out for the night underneath. Thinking back on it, because we used to be able to buy bed chairs on the garage forecourts then, where we used to buy petrol, and they were those sun loungers, those ratchet ones. And you'd use them a couple of times and ratchet to go. Do you know what I mean? It'd just collapse on you. and then we didn't have rucksacks and stuff like that, so we'd use a seat box underneath the headrest there. The bottom part didn't matter. If that was on the floor, it didn't matter, because you could just sleep on your back or whatever. And people sort of say, and it makes me laugh when I see on Facebook, or Faceache it is really, because it does my head in sometimes. but it's like, I'd love it, old school this and old school that. Look, if you were back in the old school days, you wouldn't want to go back. It was horrible, horrendous time where we were sort of undergunned, not just fishing wise, but clothes wise, and we were just literally freezing your butt off. I mean, literally freezing your butt off for the sake of catching a fish. Do you know what I mean? And think I would never do it now. Not in a million years would I even want to go back to that now. Even though I enjoyed that pioneering stuff, I never enjoyed the inadequate fishing gear that we had.
The lack of comfort.
Yeah,
it's come a long way, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And it's good in a way. I mean, there's loads of tackle companies out there that have got some really good gear now. Like good quality sleeping bags, bed chairs, bivvies and stuff like that, brolly systems or whatever you use. Like, do you know what I mean?
Are you with Wychwood, is that right?
Yeah. I'm with Wychwood. Been with them 3 years now. Maybe 4. I'm not quite sure. 4 years next year. But I've really enjoyed my time there. I've got to be honest. And it's the type of company they'll you can come across with an idea and they'll listen.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I know a lot of companies, and I'm not going to name other companies, but I know other companies. Their consultants might sort of say, I've got this wicked idea, but it might never come into fruition. Like, do you know what I mean? Where with Wychwood, they will listen to the consultants, because I think that's what it's all about. I think that's what they should do.
Yeah, that's almost what their role should be.
And
testing and developing.
Exactly, and that's what it should be. It should be sort of, and also making sure that the item in question is good enough to be used by the general carp angler when it hits the shelves.
Because it's going to take some abuse, isn't it?
Yeah. And if there's anything that they want it to be used and abused, they give it to me.
Yeah.
Because I sort of do around about 200 nights a year fishing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So anything's going to fall apart,
Yeah.
it'll fall apart in my hands.
Yeah.
Because I'm quite rough and tough with. I'm not overly rough and tough, but do you know what I mean? I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not the type of person who will clean the bank sticks and your bivvy pegs and stuff.
Yeah.
Daryl.
Yeah.
You know, Daryl Slater. He's one of our. He does it.
Yeah.
He even cleans the pegs
Right.
with a cloth.
Yeah.
OCD, big time. Yeah, and he won't thank me for saying that, but I don't care.
Yeah.
But no, but what cat is that?
I don't know. It's different. It's not noodle, is it?
No, it's a different cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
It's the first time I've seen that.
Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah.
But but I just think that you know, on a personal note for myself, we got loads of new sort of products from Wychwood.
Yeah.
And I was. It's just nice to be involved with a company that, because they're really stepping up to the mark. Like, because I think, sort of, it was always a good brand anyway, but now there's some really good items that are going to be hitting the shelves and are on the shelves at the moment that I'm actually really proud to sort of like get them to be involved with it.
Yeah,
like, it
must be quite satisfying.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's like one of the good things I like about stuff like that is to be involved in all that type of stuff, and people sort of like messaging and sort of saying or asking me questions about certain items, and they go out and buy it, and then they message you back and say, that was the best. That's the best ever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's sort of like it sort of gives you that's that inner warmth type feeling. Do you know what I mean? Where you're helping people out. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I try and help people out wherever I am. It's sort of like fella now where I packed up opposite there.
Yeah.
I told him the spots before because he was jumping in after me. Told him the spots before I left. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
One it's less leading round for him.
Yeah.
And hopefully if he gets one off that spot. Great stuff, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, I think
to a few people on this lake as well. There's a nice vibe about this place.
Yeah,
Everyone's keen to help each other out if they do land one. That everyone's there.
Yeah.
Have pictures and one, which I think it sort of gets lost on some places. Yeah. But it's really nice to see.
The only other place I found out as well is it was when I was on church last year.
Right.
They helped you out then. Do you know what I mean? Some people are like, it's 21 wraps towards so-and-so and whatever. Yeah. And I'll still have a lead there, but I won't necessarily fish it. Do you know what I mean? But I might just put one rod on it just because a lot of the anglers on there, they'll fish 2 or 3 rods on the spot. Like, do you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's not... I do it now and again, but it's not my fishing. I'd rather fish different spots, and then if I have a few bites on one spot, then I might bring a second rod into play. Then, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you enjoy your time on there?
I loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. I mean, there's some characters on there. Vince,
right?
What a nutter he is. But what a nice guy. But they've got what I like about it. They've got a really good stocking program.
Right.
Between like Ollie Davis, he's one of the bailiffs on there, but he's very sort of proactive to everything that goes on in that fishery, and fair play to him. And he's got a busy life as well with Nash and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Vince, he's growing all of these. He's literally growing fish from eggs.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Brilliant.
And it's just amazing. Like, do you know what I mean? To see, in sort of, I know that like the bigger fish are in there, sort of. They're not wrong-uns, but they're like those big simmos type things, like, do you know what I mean? But they've got a load of Sutton fish in there now, for instance, where they're doing 30s and 40s, especially on K1 next door. You've got some big Suttons, like, and it's just a really the whole thing is good. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, obviously you get on certain waters, you're always going to get that idiot. Do you know what I mean? But I think that's always that's a rarity on there rather than the norm.
Yeah, that's good. I mean? Have you still got a ticket for that?
No. I personally, because I'm sort of getting on in my age now, I don't particularly want to be staying on waters for too long.
Right.
So I did the main part of the year on church.
Yeah.
'Cause it was just the water that I wanted to fish.
Yeah.
I always wanted to fish from years and years ago. And I wanted to fish next door on K1.
Right.
So basically what I did, I fished up until like November on church, and then November then I went over onto K1 then.
Right.
And yeah, a couple of fish from K1, do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's a bit weird using 1-inch blocks of foam on zigs.
Right.
It's like unreal. I'd
Yeah.
never seen anything like it. It's like size 6 hook
Yeah.
with an inch cube of black foam. How does that work? It's like a match. It's like trying to sling out a matchbox.
Yeah.
But but that was another thing. Like Ollie sort of got me onto that.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, all right, whatever. And he actually showed me a photograph of the hook in the mouth with this big
Yeah.
chunk of foam, and I thought, well, it's got to work. So I tried it, and
Yeah.
Jesus, couldn't believe it. It's like, you'd never on any other water you would never sling out a big.
Yeah.
A big
Yeah.
cube of it's just unreal.
It's funny, isn't it? The things that catch fish.
Yeah. I mean, you're fishing sort of like sort of 15, 16 foot of water type of thing. Because it's quite a depth of water in K1.
Yeah.
And even on church, it was good. It's 20 foot in some places.
Right.
But it's just a different mentality on there. It's just really weird. When you're fishing, do you know what I mean? It was a totally different challenge, and I like that, and that's another reason why I move waters quite regular.
Right.
Is because I like that new challenge on a new water.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's for me. And the reason for me changing waters is then I can go to another water and utilise what I've used on those other waters to fish my new water.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It's that percentage thing again, isn't it?
And that's that percentage thing, exactly. Like, do you know what I mean? But then it comes down to experience. And when you experience things on different fishing different waters, I mean, each to their own. I know some people are quite happy fishing one water for the rest of their lives, and that's fine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm not one in for recaptures all the time and stuff. And in my eyes, and whether people like me for me saying it or not, but they're absolute dream breakers in my eyes. They are dream breakers.
Yeah.
People staying on waters for years and years and years and catching the same fish year in, year out, where really, you might have new members on that particular lake, and they really want to catch that particular fish, and then when you've caught it, it probably won't be out for a couple of months then.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So you've spoilt it for them then, in a way, without them even realising, probably. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why I don't. That's why I was quite happy when, because my first fish out of church, out of this water, was little poolies.
Right.
And I had it at 36 and a half, 37, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I doubled it up within a 31.
Right.
I had a double run.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why I use 2 nets for now, because I only had one net.
Yeah.
And I had like 70 pound of fish in one net, trying to lift that out of the water.
Yeah.
But so when little poolies got caught, I was sort of like, oh yeah, at least that probably won't come out this winter.
Yeah.
Type of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But a little bit selfish, I suppose. But I'm not into this recapture
it's
stuff.
a fair point.
I will sort of say, still have a smile on my face and stuff like that. But if I've had that same fish, I tend to sort of not being blasé about it, but I tend to just slip them back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And hopefully without that stress of coming out of the water, they might get caught a little bit quicker. Type of thing for somebody else.
Yeah. So what are your plans fishing wise for next year? I don't know yet.
I don't know. No, I'm normally quite organised, but I'm sort of toying with the idea of a couple of lakes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm Black Swan, White Swan.
Yeah.
Thinking about that. Get a gold ticket.
Yeah.
And the waiting list is not so long for that.
Right.
I might be able to get on straight away. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
But I quite like flitting around waters, like, do you know what I mean, if I'm being honest. I did quite a few day ticket waters this year. I fished Mets this year, which is a day ticket water.
Yeah.
But they do a season ticket on there for like 300 quid.
Okay.
It's the lake next door to Thorny Weir.
Right.
And after fishing church, which was a little bit of a headbanger, do you know what I mean? And and especially fishing K1 in the winter was a proper headbanger.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see my bobbins moving.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And but also, I wanted some nice looking fish, if you know what I mean. Some nice scaly ones, like very similar to what's in here on Church, like But and the Mets sort of fitted the bill, like, do you know what I mean? And Thorny Weir's the same. You got some right scaly ones in Thorny Weir. Right. But I fancied the Mets because it was a little bit quieter, and it fishes, believe it or not, like a syndicate.
Right.
It's got all those overhanging trees and snags and stuff like that, and it's a weedy water and it puts a lot of people off. And really, the only time that it would get slightly busy would be as if Thorny Weir was full next door, and they would overspill onto the Mets.
Okay.
But I really enjoyed it. There was nothing big in it. There was obviously rumours of a big common, which they said there is on every lake, isn't there? Do you know what I mean? But my biggest on it was the 35-pound common.
Right.
I had quite a few 30s. I was really happy. But it wasn't all about size. They were all really good looking fish. I've done a little video about it as well, which should be live. Sort of in a couple of weeks. I'm just taking it down to Wychwood head office next week for him to upload it. It's not a long video, it's 10, 11 minutes, but it just gives you a little flavour.
Oh, nice.
So maybe something to look forward to.
Yeah. So will that be on the Wychwood?
It'll be on the Wychwood page. So and it'll give you a little flavour of what's in the lake as well. Because it is a decent. It's not even a dear water. It's only 20 quid for 24 hours.
Oh, nice. That's good.
It's great. It's lovely water.
Obviously, you mentioned as well a few other bits you're up to. Do you want to talk about that, the international team?
Oh, yeah. A couple of months ago, I got contacted by two of the girls in the Welsh ladies team. And they were basically asking me to see whether or not I wanted to take over the team. Because it's sort of gone stagnant over the last nearly a year now. No. They haven't really done anything competitive. And they had the odd meeting type of thing, but nothing more than that. And it wasn't and it wasn't really something I really wanted to go into, if I'm being honest. But they sort of persuaded me, oh, come on, and all this. So okay. So to announce it on here, I'm officially now the Welsh ladies manager.
Brilliant.
Do you know what I mean? So same role as what Rob Hughes does.
Right. Yeah.
And Bev is the manageress of the ladies team as well, so I can gather now. So we'll be going head to head.
Yeah, awesome.
Do you know what I mean? And I think we've got the world champs next year as well.
Brilliant.
And also it's just been announced by the England ladies page. So and Rob. So that should be interesting. I've sort of got a lot of the old girls back now. Do you know what I mean? They were in the team because some of them had dropped out of the team. They were sort of disillusioned, and I've sort of reignited that fire with them now. And hopefully, there's one or two other girls that I'd like to get to come back. And I'm not going to put any pressure on them. If they don't want to come back, they don't want to come back. But hopefully, if they can see that everything's going in the right direction, they'll choose to come back. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, nice. But
we're also going to have trials. Try and find some new blood. Within the Welsh community, and see if we can give your girls a good scrap in England. Do you know what I mean? And
obviously, if anyone's listening and wants to get in touch, they just get in touch with you direct on
Instagram? On Facebook, Instagram, and I'm on Twitter, but in Facebook and Instagram. If you're a Welsh girl and you're interested in joining the team, then just drop me a message. And we've got a team meeting on the 22nd of December, which will be our first meeting. That's been with myself. So if there's any girls out there that are interested, message. It's on a Sunday night, I think it is, and maybe you could even pop along. We can basically turn it into sort of like a bit of a Christmas do as well, type of thing. So it incorporates beer then.
Always a winner.
It's always a good one.
Sold. So if people sort of getting into the sport, what sort of tips would you offer, or what advice would you give to newbies? I suppose not necessarily newbies, just anything that sort of little edges that you don't mind sharing. I mean, like the thing like the GoPro, that's a good tip, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's, to be honest, there's a lot of stuff I just take for granted, and then people sort of like see it and think, oh, hold on, how would you do that? And I'm like, really? That's something I do. Year in, year out, session in, session out.
Because you do it so often.
Yeah, that's
it's the norm to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was a new thing I did myself with a GoPro on church.
Yeah.
And it's a sneaky little edge, to be honest. I mean, I'm assuming that most phones are waterproof now as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, phone holder, screw it into the end.
Yeah.
Could you do the same sort of thing?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
probably could do.
Through the iPhone,
I suppose you'd have like 600-700 quid's worth of phone dangling on the end of a phone. But you could theoretically do the same sort of thing if you didn't want to go out and GoPro. But there's plenty of cheap ones out there if you're just going to use it for that. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of awesome. That's a nice little edge. For myself though, the biggest edge you've got is your eyes.
Yeah.
And that is it. For me, I'll and also as well, just keep walking around. Quite often I'll turn up at a lake and sort of do 2, 3, even 4 laps.
Yeah.
I mean, I come straight from a night shift myself.
Yeah.
And quite often I'll be at the lake, say 7 o'clock in the morning. Because it's a bit of a drive from Cardiff to where, because I tend to fish like Oxford area and fish in the Mets, which is sort of M25 basically. Do you know what I mean? London way.
Yeah.
And church was sort of just short of London, type of thing, Heathrow. Yeah. And but I sometimes wouldn't even be setting up until 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
Because I'm literally looking for fish all the time, and that, Polaroids is another one. You need Polaroids. If you, it's absolutely. You could see visually fish showing and stuff like that, but to break that surface glare, you need sunglasses. Yeah. I'd be absolutely lost without mine. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that's just one. That is sunglasses, using your eyes, and also as well, sort of. You're leading round as well when you're trying to find spots. Like I mentioned earlier on, it's like finding that spot within a spot, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And don't go for those. Sometimes they will, like, do you know what I mean? But if I'm fishing 2 rods on a spot, I'll fish 1 rod on the glaringly obvious part of the spot, like the gravel bait. But then I might fish the 1 rod in the silt before the gravel, as such. Do you know what I mean? But then there's different types of gravel and there's different types of silt. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
So you get the glassy stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, because for instance on church it was absolutely silty as. Do you know what I mean? There was no sort of features as such. But you were looking for that variation in silt. Do you know what I mean? So you don't want that thick, claggy silt where your lead's burying down deep into where you want to, where all of a sudden you come to a bit of silt and it's like it's quite heavy and you pull it in, it's quite heavy, and all of a sudden, flipping neck, and it just slides.
It almost feels like someone snipped the lead off for a second, doesn't
that's it. And it's like literally is like as if you're bringing your lead across a pane of glass. Yeah. And it's like literally is like that. Yeah. And spots like that mightn't even be, because for it to be sliding like that, it mightn't even be silt. It could be like a clay spot. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because it feels very similar. Do you know what I mean? And so what I would do is clip up and do a couple of casts until I found it again. Because sometimes these spots might only be tiny, the size of a bin lid. Yeah. So and then have a look, and I'll check my lead then when I bring it in, because if you're bringing in streaks of clay or whatever that is on the lake bed, it normally transferred it to the lead, especially if you use like a textured lead. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And also as well, you got those leads with the prongs as well. Yeah, I don't initially use them straight away. What I'll do, I'll have a lead around with a textured lead straight away, a normal 4-ounce lead or whatever. But I'll also use a streamline lead as well, rather than a big dumpy lead, especially when I'm fishing weedy waters, because I want my lead to cut through the weed. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So like those dumpy leads, it can clog up and stuff like. Do you know what I mean? So it's all called what type of lead, lake you're fishing, whether it's weedy water or clear waters, is the type of lead you should be leading around with. But it's always textured. My leads are always textured to try and get as much as I can on the sides of the lead. And then once I found the spot, then I'll put a pronged lead on and find out if there's weed on there or any debris or stuff like that, which then tells me whether I'm going to use a bottom bait, a pop-up, a wafter, stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
Awesome.
Because I'm not afraid to change my rigs either.
Yeah.
You know, I know some people sort of say, I'll keep it simple and stuff like that. Look, you know, I change my angling style to suit whatever's in front of me. Do you know what I mean? So like, say, for instance, well, here's a little tip. I fished the swim obel situ on this session now, and I was having a little lead around, and there's two clear spots there, and they're the obvious clear spots that everybody fishes, but the fish have been showing over the weed, and I noticed that last week when I was fishing in the same sort of area, not the same swim, the same area, and I sort of, now and again you'll get a drop through the weed, so that tells me it's not that deep. If you're going to drop on it, it's not that deep. So I'm surmising it's going to be around about sort of 18 inches to 2 foot of weed there. So I've used hook lengths, 3 foot hook lengths, with a very supple hook length material and a Ronnie. But a very slow, I mean as slow as you could possibly get it to sink. On top. So literally when you cast out, obviously as they hit the clip, for it to kick it out. And then when your lead goes through the weed, the 2 foot of weed, you've still got another foot laying on top, and with that critically balanced bait, it'll just sit on top lovely. And I know people are sort of screaming and sort of saying, yeah, but you can use a chard with that. But I just feel that there's just too much give in a chard, in a chard rig, like, do you know what I mean? Because it's more like a slack piano line, and it's not really setting the hook, where if you've got the rig that I've explained, they've only got literally a foot to play around with, because the other 2 foot's going through the weed. So then literally when they pick it up, they pick up the lead straight away, if you know what I mean, and it just sets the hook. That's my theory, and it worked for me on this session. Just so I caught my cat.
Brilliant. That's
you know what I mean?
Little tip. And
so also as well, I used a black bait.
Do
you know what I mean? Because I'm with Mad Bait, and they do like black zig baits. And it's 16 by 12. They're quite a biggish for a zig, but you could trim them down, and that's why they did them big enough for. But they're black with like a little red stripe going down the one side. And they're great for zig fishing, but also they're bloody brilliant because they're super buoyant anyway. But they're really good if you've got a lot of wildlife, like coots diving, and I was getting picked up a lot when I was using chods last week by the coots, because you're obviously using this time of the year, using whites, yellows, pinks and stuff like that. So I had that one on a black bait, on a 3 foot hook length.
Great tip.
But just don't be afraid to change, but don't change for the sake of it. Obviously your eyes will tell you things as well. The more you go fishing, you learn. You learn by your mistakes, and that's the only thing I can. The biggest tip is time. That's the biggest tip. The more time you do on a bank, the more an accomplished carp angler or an accomplished angler that you'll be. So whether you're carp fisherman or your float angler or you fish for perch or whatever, the more time you do on the bank, the better you'll get at it.
Just get in sync with it.
It's the same. It's the same as like a darts player. You don't turn up at a tournament and throw a couple of darts at the board. He's been practicing all week. To keep himself in tune. Snooker players, whatever. People practice, and it's the same with fishing. The more I go per time I put on the bank, the more I can read the water, I can understand the situation I'm fishing in, and I can understand the topography of the lake bed in front of me as well. And I know what to use that'll give me the best chance of catching a fish.
Awesome. That's great. It's brilliant. Nice one. Okay, Mark, I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much, mate.
It's been a pleasure.